All right, spring football fans. First off, look what I'm wearing. That's right, my USFL shirt. United States Football League. Now we got the UFL, the United Football League. This is the first season of the new spring football league after the XFL and USFL merger. That's right. XFL and USFL had their seasons the past couple of years, and now they've come together. This is what the fans want. And this is what I want as well, and it's really happening. The season just started, so I'm going to talk about a little bit of the history of the XFL and USFL, and I'm going to talk about the stuff that I like and the stuff that I don't really like, okay? Let's talk about the history of the XFL. So, the very first year of that league was in 2001. It was launched by Vince McMahon, okay? As you can see, I'm on the Wikipedia article that basically tells you everything about it. So Vince McMahon was also the owner of WWE, and back then it was called the WWF, World Wrestling Federation, and he launched the XFL in 2001, and it never came back until 2020. So back in 2001, the league started off pretty good, but then as the season went on, it's gone downhill. Yeah, it was a failure. It's a shame it was a failure. And ESPN made a 30 for 30 film documentary called This Was the XFL. So if you have ESPN Plus, I recommend you to go check that out because I watched that. It was really good. So yeah, go if you have ESPN Plus, go search for 30 for 30 films. This was the XFL. All right. So it's funny because they did that documentary show in 2017, and then in 2018, Vince McMahon said that the XFL will come back in 2020. Yes. So, 8 teams in a spring football league. And I'm like, yes, I cannot wait for the 2020 XFL relaunch. Because back then I was sick of the NFL. I used to be an NFL fan, but over the years I got sick of it. They pissed me off a bunch of times. And I'm like, you know what? I'm ready to watch a different football league for a change. And yeah, 2020 comes. It was a success until COVID. COVID shut down the league, and I'm like, that has got to be the worst thing to happen. The league comes back 19 years later. And halfway through the season, it got shut down because of the pandemic. And they lost a lot of money, man. The league has gone bankrupt, and they didn't come back the following year. However, they said they were going to come back in 2022. Then Vince McMahon was no longer the owner of the XFL. So then Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, who was also a football player and wrestler, purchased the league, and he now owns it. And so they said that the league was going to come back in 2022. However, they pushed it until 2023, which I was kind of upset, but I understand why they pushed it back to another year. because they want to have more time to, get things together, get the teams ready, the players, the coaches, all that stuff. So I get it. However, in 2022, the USFL came back. Yeah, there was an old USFL from like the mid 80s, I think for 2 years, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know why that was a thing back then. I don't know how that started, but yeah, the league started in the mid 80s for 2 seasons, and it never came back until 2022. So I'm like, oh, well, the league came back. The USFL's back in 2022. So I'm like, well, I really wanted to watch the XFL to come back in 2022, so I'm going to watch USFL instead. So I did that. However, the biggest problem with the USFL was all the games were played in Birmingham, Alabama. But I watched as many games as I could because I was looking forward to watch spring football since the XFL didn't come back in 2022. They brought back the USFL. So, yeah, I watched a whole bunch of games, even though there wasn't a crowd. Most of the games, except for Birmingham. But, yeah. So, then 2023 comes, the XFL comes back, and the USFL has a second season. So both seasons happened, both leagues had a season in 2023. However, they both were not at the same time of the year, okay? XFL season started the weekend after the Super Bowl, which is, mid-February, okay? And when the XFL season was coming to an end, that's when the USFL season started, which was in late April, okay? So I'm glad that both leagues were not happening at the same time, except a little bit for like 2 weeks. So, but I was more into the XFL in 2023 because all the teams were playing in their own venue. Not the USFL. USFL in 2023, they had games in 3 cities: Birmingham, Memphis, and Detroit. Okay? So I did not watch much of the USFL because of that. What the XFL did in 2023 was correct, was the right thing to do, in my opinion. That's why I was more locked into the XFL than USFL. But I did watch the USFL championship game. The Birmingham Stallions won the championship game in 2022 and in 2023. And in XFL, the champions were the Arlington Renegades, and they only won 6 games, I think, in the regular season. No, 4 games in the regular season, two wins in the postseason, the playoffs. So yeah, a total of 6 wins. They were 6-6 after the championship game. Isn't that crazy? So then, later in the year, they announced that both leagues will come together in 2024. And this is what the fans want. And I'm glad it's happening. Oh, damn. Alright, sorry about that. So yeah, both leagues came together, and now it's called the UFL, the United Football League. Which I guess that is the right thing to call it. But, yeah, now we got teams from XFL and USFL they're all playing in their own venues. So that's great. The difference between the XFL and the USFL, XFL, their teams were in their own venues. USFL was not like that. However, the game itself is similar. You know, when you score a touchdown, you know how you usually kick the extra point. You don't. They don't do that in this. You have the one. You can go for 1 point, 2 points, or 3 point conversions. 1 point's from I believe the 3 yard line. 2 points is from the 5 yard line, and 3 points is from the 10 yard line. Okay. So yeah, and I like it. I really liked it. This is what I'll be following the most. So yeah, football season has begun, at least for me. So, yep. So that's a little bit about the history of the two leagues. Now I'm going to talk about what I like and what I don't like of the United Football League. Okay. What I like is the game itself. I like the broadcast. The games are on Fox networks and ESPN networks. Okay. And I really do like they have drone cameras. I really like that. You get to hear the coaches call the plays. I really like that. They have microphones on. That's great, because they don't want to copy the NFL. They want to be different. So that's great. So I do like that. Now, my favorite team is the Houston Roughnecks. Okay, the Houston Roughnecks they were in the XFL. Okay, they were an XFL team. The USFL had the New Orleans Breakers, or the New Orleans Breaker. They were actually the closest team. However, they were not playing in New Orleans. They were playing in Birmingham. So really, the closest team that I can go see a game is in Houston. Okay? So, let me go down here. So yeah, there's 8 teams. They don't have, all XFL and USFL teams. I wasn't sure if they were going to have all 8 teams from both leagues, meaning it would be a total of 16 teams, but no, it's 8 teams total. Okay? Which I think that's a good thing to do, at least for now. But I think this will be the best year yet because of the merger. So here are the teams in the UFL. Birmingham Stallions, Houston Roughnecks, Memphis Showboats, Michigan Panthers, Arlington Renegades, DC Defenders, San Antonio Brahmas, and St. Louis Battlehawks. And it tells you what their stadium is, the capacity, and their head coaches. Now here's what I don't like. This is what I don't like about the UFL, and that is the conferences, the divisions. Okay? It says right here, 4 teams came from the XFL and 3 came from the USFL. While both leagues' Houston-based teams were merged, maintaining the branding of the XFL's Houston Roughnecks and the divisional alignment, players' rights, and coaching staff of the USFL's Gamblers. In a sense, the Gamblers changed their name to the Roughnecks. What I just read, I don't really like. So, the USFL and XFL had a Houston team. Both. They both had a Houston team. USFL was the Houston Gamblers. XFL was the Houston Roughnecks. So I'm like, what are they going to do? They're not going to keep both Houston teams, are they? So they decided to keep the Houston Roughnecks. However, the Houston Roughnecks are in the USFL conference, not the XFL conference. So yeah, the conferences are not based on North and South divisions. You think it would be because it was like that in both leagues last year. You know, they had the North Division and the South Division. But in this, they're not having a North Division and South Division. I don't know why. It's weird. Instead, they're having the USFL conference and the XFL conference. I don't know why they're doing that. And it's kind of sucks that out of all the teams, this is happening to my favorite team, the Houston Roughnecks. They really came from the XFL, not the USFL. But they're having the players and the coaching staff from the Houston Gamblers. So they really should be called the Houston Gamblers, right? Not the Roughnecks. That doesn't make sense to me. That's so confusing. That is confusing. I guess they decided to keep the Roughnecks name because it's more popular than the Gamblers, I guess. But it's weird. They really should be the Gamblers when you have the players and the coaching staff from the USFL's Gamblers, but instead they kept the name. So that's why Wade Phillips is not the head coach anymore for the Houston Roughnecks. He's actually now in the San Antonio Brahmas. He's the head coach of the San Antonio Brahmas. After Hines Ward resigned. Yeah, he was actually the San Antonio Brahmas head coach last year until he resigned. So I don't know why they can't do North and South Division. Look at the map. They can easily do North and South Division. North Division would be Michigan, St. Louis, D.C., and Memphis. South Division, obviously the three teams in Texas, Arlington, San Antonio, and Houston, and Birmingham. That would have been much better. You know? I don't know why they're doing USFL conference and XFL conference. But, oh well, it is what it is. I still like the game itself, but that is what I don't like about the UFL, the division. And yeah, it's happening to my favorite team, Houston Roughnecks, but we're not going to have the players and the coaching staff from last year's Roughnecks team. It's going to be from the Gamblers team. It's weird. Really weird. I mean, I'm kind of glad I'm kind of glad they're still called the Roughnecks because I have two Houston Roughnecks shirts. I don't have a Houston Gamblers shirt. So, one more thing that I don't like about the Houston Roughnecks is their uniform. Okay? I don't really like their uniforms. Especially their helmets. I wonder if it says on here. Does it say on there? Does it say it on here? No, it does not. So I'm going to have to look that up here. Houston Roughnecks uniforms. They're keeping the same uniforms from last year's. Okay. Let me pull up the... Oh, it must be... Okay. Okay. This is what the uniforms look like. This is from last year's XFL. They're keeping it. This looks weird to me. These uniforms look weird to me. What I really don't like is the helmets. Why do you have 3 different colors on the helmets? You got 1 color on one side of the helmet and 2 colors on the other side of the helmet. You got the player's number on one side of the helmet and the logo on the other side of the helmet. That's weird. And unfortunately, they are keeping these uniforms. The Houston Gamblers uniforms look better, in my opinion. Now, let me show you what their 2020 uniforms look like for the Houston Roughnecks. This. You see, look how much better these look back then. Look at this. We got red, navy, and gray. The helmets look great. I really wish they brought these back. I don't know why they can't bring these back. However, the logo looks different. The logo in 2020, the Houston Roughnecks logo in 2020, got criticized by the NFL because their logo looks similar to the Houston Oilers logo, a defunct team, a team that no longer exists, because they moved to Tennessee and they became the Tennessee Titans. It's so stupid. So then they changed the logo. It's more of a H, you know. But still, why can't you bring these back? These look better. If you're a Houston Roughnecks fan, you probably agree with me on that. So I just want to point that out. It kind of sucks that this is happening to my favorite team, but it is what it is. I'll still watch them play, but man, it's not going to be the same players and the same coaching staff from last year's XFL team. The Houston Gamblers last year were not good. They were not good. I think they were in last place in their division, so that's a shame. Oh well. So yeah, those are the things that I don't like about this team and the UFL, but I like the game itself. You know, I just wish they can bring these uniforms back, and I wish they're not in the USFL conference, and I also wish that they're not doing that. I wish they can do North and South Division like they usually do, but oh well. We'll see how this goes, though. I'm sure it'll still be a great season. I'm looking forward to this. Well, actually, the season already started, so yeah. And after this league's over, so yeah, the schedule. There's no buys. No teams get buys. It's 10 weeks. Okay, so for example, XFL conference. So let's say Arlington Renegades. They're going to play DC, San Antonio, and St. Louis twice. One at home, one on the road. Okay? So that's already 6 games right there. Then they're also going to play the 4 teams in the other conference. So that's 10 games total. So they play 10 games, and then after that, we have the semifinals, the 2 best teams on each conference, so that's 4 teams, and the winner of those 2 games will play each other in the championship game. And that's it. So that'll be in June, the month of June, like mid-June. It's funny because the XFL, they had a bye in between the semifinals and the championship game. I hope they don't have that again for this one. So yeah. Anyways, this is really what the fans wanted regardless, you know, for the merger. Technically, we have 3 USFL teams and 5 XFL teams. It's just so weird that the Houston Roughnecks are in the USFL conference when they really weren't a USFL team. They were an XFL team, so they really should be called the Gamblers. It's so weird. I don't know why that is, but oh well. I still would like to go to a game. And I wish they can bring back those 2020 uniforms, because those were like the best looking uniforms. Anyways, yeah, and after this league's over, we have the CFL, the Canadian Football League. I really like watching that as well. So, yeah, spring and summer football. That's what I'm talking about. So, anyways, that is it. Sorry for the long video, but I just wanted to give you guys my thoughts. And let me know in the comments, what do you guys think? Do you agree with the stuff that I like and don't like, or do you disagree? Let me know what you think. But until then, yes, last year I posted quite a bit of XFL videos, and I'm going to try and do the same for the UFL, the United Football League. Yeah, there's no S. They removed the S. So, we'll see how the season goes, and yeah. Alright guys, thank you for watching, and have a great rest of your day.